and welcome to the second of our 4 NRTF Horizon conference dates. This week's conference is all about libraries and rural touring and looks to bring these two sectors together to explore the potential of rural touring in libraries, the benefits, the challenges, and the future of such collaborations. This is the first time the NRTF conference has gone online. It's the first time it's been free, and it's the first time it's brought so many delegates together in one space. So it's really exciting. Although we've focused each conference date on a different theme, we hope that each date will cover something of all of them. Today's no exception. By bringing the two sectors together, we want to understand how collaborations like this can work to make the arts more inclusive, more diverse, and more accessible to audiences. We hope today's event will highlight the strength and benefits of working collaboratively with your local community, venues, artists, and organisations to reach audiences and share your work. We hope that this will help to secure the future of touring arts and our community spaces. And in line with our last theme, that together we can improve not only the health and well-being of our audiences, but those working in the creative sector as well. So don't miss a thing. Everything from our last event, Equality, Diversity and Inclusion, has been recorded and is available to watch through our Tenderfy platform. If you can't join us for the whole day today, everything will be recorded and available to view by the end of the day. Please join us next Tuesday for our future proofing event. And on Tuesday the 27th, we'll be talking leadership and mental health. So here's a taster of what's to come from today's programme. To start, we've got poet Johnny Fluffypunk, who will be getting you in the mood, while you can view at any time today Maddie Godfrey's poem, written especially for this event and in honour of librarians. We've got keynote speakers Stella Duffy, writer, theatre maker and co-founder of Fun Palaces. She will talk engagement, participation and community, while Sue Williamson will share with us how libraries are at the heart of the ACE's Let's Create vision. Our panel discussion will see speakers from the Arts Council, the rural touring sector, national arts organisations and the library sector. This afternoon, we've got Spot On and Creative Arts Eats facilitating our library and rural touring workshop. We'll be showcasing the work of Sonia Sabri and asking you to engage with Tessa Bides, the Anarchists Mobile Library, and the Angel Exit Theatre's Book Club for Spies. We'll be sharing live talks, hopefully Project Film, Lyric Art's new toolkit for libraries, and hearing from creative director Natalie Jode on the NRTF Library Project and results from their recent released Libraries Touring Report. Join us this Friday from 10 to 11 for our Friday open space session, along with Lyric Arts and Libraries Unlimited. We'll use this session to continue discussions around working in and with your local libraries. So if you have topics you'd like us to cover, questions you'd like us to raise, then contact us or come along. We have tried to make the conference as accessible as we can. We want to be more inclusive. We've learned a lot and we're continuing to learn how to do this. We haven't got it right, but we will work hard to develop this going forward. We do welcome your feedback. You will see if an event is BSL interpreted or live captioned in the timetable. However, if this has not been possible, we aim to have all the sessions available with captions live within a week. If we can support you to access the info, please get in contact. So I'd like to introduce Barbara Tremewan, one of our valued NRTF board members, who has a lifelong love of theatre and arts. Barbara has been a promoter and a librarian in her rural community in Cornwall for the last 30 years and was pivotal in setting up Carn to Cove, which is Cornwall's successful rural touring scheme. Morning, Barbara.
Good morning. Gosh, an exciting day to come. Running a bit late, so I shall make this welcome as quick as I can so we can get on with all those exciting things that are planned for the day. Just welcome to this day 2 of this amazing conference, having now seen behind the scenes as well. It's an incredible feat of engineering to get this all off the ground, and it's all really exciting. Last week was a brilliant start, and I'm sure today will be equally invigorating. As Jess said, I'm a volunteer promoter from Cornwall and also have worked in the library service, which I have only just retired from 2 weeks ago, for over 30 years. Part of my promoting in that time, well, almost 20 years of that, has been under the guidance of our local touring scheme, Carn to Cove. And hopefully, because of the subject of today's conference being libraries, there's going to be a few new faces in the virtual audience, but it's slightly weird not being able to see any of them, but I'm sure there are. So I've been tasked with saying a few words about the workings of NRTF. Rural touring is about bringing the performing arts into rural communities. And as its name implies, the National Rural Touring Forum is the national body that forms the umbrella, maybe it should be the giant gazebo, I think, over all the myriad parts that make up rural touring. The membership's drawn from schemes, rural touring schemes, artists and promoters, and acts as a sort of conduit, gathering and disseminating advice and good practice to its members and beyond, and acting as a mouthpiece and a facilitator for the sector. This has been even more vital in these uncertain times, and Holly, our director, has worked tirelessly over the last months to keep our sector of the arts in the sightlines of the powerful and the public in general, and making the case for the value of performing arts in the rural community to, as Tom, our chair, put it last week, anyone who will listen and those who won't. She's always ahead of the curve and always with her eyes on the horizon. A quick overview, as I said, I'm rushing slightly, so I hope I'm not gabbling too much to make up for lost time here. I'm a board member, as Jess said, of NRTF, but my view of NRTF really comes from a personal perspective, and that is the view from the ground as one of the thousands of volunteer promoters under this giant gazebo. Promoters, I think, rather a grandiose title with shades of theatre impresarios and also people who know what they're doing. Marginally qualified perhaps by the addition of the word volunteer. Many, probably most, have no previous experience of putting on shows. And what they do have is a bond with their community, which makes the whole process work. And as I know from 10 years promoting on my own, the backing of a rural touring scheme and NRTF is transformative, as well as removing that awful feeling that you're on a trapeze without a safety net. And it really does broaden the horizons. Many volunteer promoters come already attached to a village hall, which becomes the primary and sometimes the only venue that they use. But bringing performing arts into rural communities is again about broadening horizons and considering venues that might attract a different audience or a different show, which brings me, in a rather roundabout way, to the theme of today's conference, libraries and rural touring. Projects and research are another important strata of the work of NRTF. And the Libraries Project, which you'll hear from Natalie about later, is a good example of where NRTF sits in the gathering, assimilation and dissemination of information. Theatre companies, writers and musicians do already perform in libraries, but I think it's fair to say that libraries are an underused and undervalued resource. Even without the COVID situation, and the library service where I'm working is still only able to offer a foyer service, many libraries around the country have gone through a huge period of change as they've been in the front line of financial cuts. Our own library service in Cornwall is just emerging from years of a devolution process that has seen most of them change to town or parish management, council management. But those who have survived, and sadly some haven't, have come through stronger and more creative than ever. And so when the project started, it was the ideal time to think about developing that side of rural touring. And by spearheading the project, NRTF is ideally placed to gain the essential overview while drilling down to the vital mechanics of how libraries and rural touring can move forward together. So without further ado, let the fun begin.
Thank you, Barbara. So to start our day, we hand it over to Johnny Fluffypunk, someone who has successfully toured obscure art to the masses, establishing himself as a firm favourite up and down the country. Johnny, over to you.
Hello, good morning, people of the rural touring world. Yeah, I am a lo-fi theatre maker, puppeteer now, and spoken word artiste. Fluffypunk is a stupid name, but it does kind of sum up the ongoing internal dichotomy, which is a big word for so early in the day. It just means identity crisis. If anyone at this conference is a bit more Heart FM than Radio 4. Probably not, but they do occasionally slip in. In the one hand, I still carry the tattered black flag of anarchy. Yeah. Normally when you do this in front of a crowd, you know, you're hoping that people will punch the air with you. They never do. And I have to remind them that the reason we do this is the reason any of us are up here on stage. It's not for the fame. It's not for the glory. Not for the money. Not for the attention. Well, it is for the attention. That would be a lie. But mainly it's for the fragile sense of hope that comes from a few people gathered together in a room, all singing from the same song sheet. So we'll try that again. And this time I've got to imagine you sat there in your living rooms, staring into your laptops. You know, you punch the air too. In the one hand, I still carry the tattered black flag of anarchy. That's better. Hope. Hope, it's what it's all about. And in the other, the packet of unsalted rice cakes, the Tibetan goatskin wind chime, and the Gloucestershire Council library card. Yes. I found a path between these two extremes, that of the sustainable nihilist. And I'm so far the only poet of the sustainable nihilist school. And I've been doing this for many years now. Every few years, you see this on the front of the paper. On the front of the paper, is poetry the new rock and roll? Comes up every few years when somebody's crossed over. When I say front page of the paper, I mean page 10 of the review in the Guardian Saturday bit. But it's still valid, right? And for those brief moments, we surf the wave of popularity. And I get people coming up to me and they're going, Johnny, what's it like, mate? What's it like being out there at the cutting edge of the new rock and roll? What's it like? What's it like? That's what they say. Admittedly, some say things like, what steps have you taken to look for work in the past fortnight, Mr. Seagrave? But we don't dwell on them. We dwell on the positive. Okay, so this first poem is called, it's Portrait of the Artist at the Coal Face of the New Rock and Roll. I do a lot of gigs, or did do. I do a lot of gigs all over the place, and people would say to me, you know, what's it like? And I took to a tour diary. I wrote a tour diary. This is an excerpt from that tour diary. This is just an everyday story from the coalface of the new rock and roll. The new rock and roll is what I screamed into the face of the lady from the literature festival as we sped through the streets of a small Suffolk market town in a clapped-out Nissan Micra. The new rock and roll. And that night, at the gig, the reading, I think I killed it. The ladies from the book club sighed and nodded, and the girl in the tweed trench coat with eyes as dusty and inviting as the windows of second-hand bookshops. I know, foi. She slammed her head to the rhythm of rustled paper and awkward silence before we all melted off into the night like poems melting back to raw ink. The new rock and roll. And then the after party. Back at the B&B, the Litfest lady cracks open a yoghurt, lines up the Earl Grey slammers as the girl with the bookshop eyes leads me to the bed. And as our Nurofen starts kicking in, we lower our heads and lick hobnob crumbs from the plump stomach of a naked librarian. And that's how every gig ends, really. Every gig, without fail. Yeah, so we're all very supportive of the library service around here, believe me. It's brought me many, many fine evenings, gigs in libraries. Yeah, and this one is exactly that. This is another one from that sequence, the new rock and roll sequence. This is called simply Gig Library Stoke-on-Trent. It's one of those Ronseal poems that does what it says on the tin. Yeah, there's a librarian in this poem. It's a real librarian, not the fantasy librarian we met in the previous piece. We've all got one, haven't we? Yes. Anyway, yeah, gig library Stoke-on-Trent. It's much more the reality of the new rock and roll. It's a lunchtime gig. There's about 12 people, mainly pensioners. There is the guy in a long coat carrying all the shopping bags that just mutters to himself, and they've ushered him in as well, because he was causing issues around the children's section. Okay, gig library Stoke-on-Trent. The librarian double checks the audience has emptied their bladders. The stair lift's playing up again, and no one wants a repeat of last week, do they? Well, that's one I've got up on you, Jarvis Cocker. And I bet Lou Reed never gets told to flag up the induction loop for the hard of hearing. And just you try to picture David Bowie as they show him to the fridge where they put the rider, a Tesco meal deal sandwich and a meal deal bottle of water. The crisps, Bowie would say, coming on all diva. Where's my meal deal crisps? And you picture his face when they inform him that the crisps went to the support act. Okay, that one ends there. That's 2 points, right? Yeah. Now I don't know how you lot spent your lockdown. I managed to spend mine building this. I'm chatting and broadcasting to you from my art shed. The art shed that is now at the end of the garden. I remember when this was all stinging nettles, and I managed to build this. I wrote a poem about this thing, so it's good. It's good getting my skills up for when I have to do my Rishi Sunak retraining. Yeah, I can go back and be a builder, whereas all of my other artist and poet friends have been told to become boxers. There we go. This is called I Built a Shed. And this poem was commissioned and put up by Poetry on Loan, which is a wonderful organisation that works in conjunction with libraries. We go into libraries all the time doing stuff, and they are beautiful places. I built a shed. I built a shed I've been meaning to for ages, but I never had the time. And right now I don't have much else, but I do have time. So I built myself a shed. All the slowing down brought the neighbourhood out into their gardens. The weight of clocks lifted from our shoulders, blinking in daylight like blitzed cockneys the morning the bomb stopped dropping. We shared the time of day, and then after a bit, we started sharing surplus building materials we all had kicking about. And I built a shed. The wood I had already, the 28 sheets of corrugated tin, they came from the guy living with his mum 5 doors up in a house that smells of sad wallpaper and vim. Handed over fences at the regulation social distance with gloves and masks and lots of friendly banter about the quiet of the street now that Alan Beaton's Land Rover has been grounded. I built a shed. And in so doing, I did myself a succession of minor injuries, metal cuts, splinters, and once from trying to saw while reading a Beano strip upside down to a 6-year-old. My partner, a nurse, is less sympathetic since my morning angle grinding sheet metal after her night shift. I have to clap louder on Thursdays now. I built a shed. I built a shed because I cannot escape a pandemic virus, but with a bit of hard graft, I can escape my own family. Somewhere I can watch the rain fall and await a future where we can all get back to being just how we were in the past. It's my tin palace. And 3 doors up, I hear the woman say it looks like something out of a Caribbean shantytown. But as she's locked down with toots and the Maytals on all day long, I take that as a thumbs up. Okay, that's the end of that one. That's a poem about sheds. Yeah, we have I can feel the applause coming over the air. Apart from that, someone over there in that corner of the Zoom they've gone to the lavatory and they didn't come back. Oh well, you can't win them all, as you say. You can't win them all. Okay, this is I'm going to finish with one. I was going to do it right. I'm going to do one about. I'm sure out there somewhere in land we've got some vegetarians in the house, as we say. Got any vegetarians? I'll pretend I can see people nodding and yeah, rather than sitting like that. But there we go. Yeah, this is it's a food. There's food featured in this poem, and I apologise to you for that, because I know part of the glory of going to conferences that I always enjoy is the dinner, the lunch in the middle, the wonderful hearty chats and the really good food. Whereas today, of course, we all know it's a pot noodle in our pants in front of the laptop. Bring back. This is a new normality, ain't it? The new normality. Anyway, this is a thank you poem to the small dead rainbow trouts that turned me vegetarian about the age of 10. I've fallen off the wagon now, but I was vegetarian and vegan long before it was fashionable. Oh, I suffered. Now it's your turn. This is thank you poem to a small dead trout. Thank you, small rainbow trout, skewered through the eye, family holiday, Scotland, summer 1979, small trout twitching on my fishing line. This is the thing, we were out fishing. Well, we got my dad to take, I wanted to go fishing, and my dad made a Dennis the Menace fishing line out of string and a bent pin, thinking that will just keep him quiet, and it caught something. It caught a fish, but caught it horribly behind it. Well, I'm not going to go there. Thank you, trout. Thank you for your slow and somewhat painful death. Flip-flop, flipping, fighting for breath in the bilge of a hired rowing boat. As I recoiled from razor rain in red cagoule, crunching custard creams. Dad attacked you with an oar, screaming, "Don't just sit there, son. Help me make it die." That night, trout, you swam through my dreams. Your hanging off eye, a gleam in the ocean of night, a malevolent oyster. Your inner tube, pouting mouth, intoning in the groaning stillness. You killed me. Thanks, trout. Thanks to you, I had to wake Dad 2 a.m. The warning signs of restrained violence etched on his yawning face. As I demand that you be etched on his face, as I demand your removal from the fridge and your burial in the heather in this rain-lashed Scottish ridge immediately. Thanks, trout. Thanks to you, I could say I will never eat flesh again as I pulled my Star Wars dressing gown tight around my skinny frame in our Thompson budget holiday kitchen. As my old man dragged on mother's pack-a-mac and swore off into the side-sleet rain, mud, mire, dark to intern his erstwhile Sunday dinner. And when he returned soaked and edgy to the holy glow of his born-again veggie son, I thought, Dad, I know you've lost a pleasant meal, but I feel we've gained something greater than a plate of fish. Today we stared death in the face, and it felt bad, Dad. I felt that fish's pain. What right have we to hold dominion over life and death? And I said, I cannot kill again, Dad. Can you, Dad? Can you? And Dad said, son, don't tempt me. Okay, yeah, well, I have been Johnny Fluffypunk. I did actually manage last week to get on stage in a theatre and do a show. And hopefully one day soon we'll be back out there doing more of those kind of things. Till then, I salute you all. I salute you all. Big up the libraries, big up rural touring. You are all beautiful people. Farewell. Have they gone? Have they gone? Have they gone? Have they come back? I don't know if they've come back. Have they come back? I don't know. Still here. Still here. Hang on, it says. Hang on.
Hello, everyone. Johnny, thank you so much. You're amazing. I even moved away from the screen a couple of times. It was fantastic. It felt like you were in the room with me. Thank you. It was brilliant. And I'm just going to introduce myself because I noticed I forgot to do that. So I'm Jess Huffman, and I'm the project manager at the NRTF. We're going to move on swiftly to Stella Duffy, who's our first keynote speaker.